So here I see a setup in the NASDAQ, and I am scrambling to get my screen record running so I can enter this trade and have it recording in time for this video.
Order filled.
I have to admit that this all felt pretty premature, mostly because I had only checked with the 30-minute time frame and I didn't have time to really look at other time frames before making this entry. At least on the 30-minute chart, this was a pretty good entry. The price had tested against the lower band of the Ichimoku cloud and started going higher after that. One thing that did worry me a little bit was how thin the Ichimoku cloud was. Many times the cloud is more reliable when it is thicker rather than when it's a very thin cloud. Here I've set up my profit target for the top end of that trading range, and I'm setting my stop loss underneath that lower portion of the cloud where you see that horizontal line. Many times we'll see price test against these longer horizontal lines. One thing that I didn't really have a chance to do, which I intended on doing, was give a review of day one. However, you can see in the balance that I am around 152,000 with about 100 right now in unrealized profit. With that said, this is a continuation of day one's trade, and if you haven't seen the day one video, please go ahead and watch that whenever you get a chance. Day one ended with $2,453, I believe, in profit with a 100% winning trade rate. Another thing to note is that this is pre-market. This is about 6 o'clock my time. However, in Eastern Standard Time, this is about 7 a.m. on September 24th, 2004. Now you can see that my entry point is toward the top of the cloud at this time. However, I do tend to buy more contracts when price does come down and retest the lower bands of the cloud.
Order filled.
I was originally in for 2 contracts, and at this point I am in for 4 contracts on this trade, where my risk management starts to get a little more nerve-wracking. Here I'm starting to get worried. I recently blew up an XFA, over-leveraging myself, buying too many contracts in a trade that didn't work for me, and I was starting to really fear that that might happen again. Another thing is I checked the hourly chart on a second monitor that you can't see here, and it really scared me. On that hourly chart, the price was nowhere near the cloud. It had a lot of room to move down before testing the cloud, and that's why I had moved my stop loss so far, because I wanted it to be safe in the hourly chart. After moving my stop, I was risking around $4,000, which would nearly blow up this account, and that was not something that I wanted to do. At this point, I am not feeling too great about the execution of this trade. And honestly, all I am thinking is that I should close this trade, hopefully while it's in the green, or find some way to mitigate my losses. This is an extremely bearish candle for this time of day. It seems like there is a very powerful bearish push in price in the NASDAQ at this time, and I wasn't feeling too great about it. However, I did keep telling myself that I should be patient and see how this plays out, and maybe move my stop loss a little bit closer to the cloud so that if I do lose this trade, it doesn't blow up my account. Here I'm starting to feel a little bit better about this trade. One reason is price is spending some time above my entry point for profit, but the other reason is I checked the 5,000 tick chart and price is testing against the cloud there as well. So I'm happy to see price testing against the cloud in both the 30-minute chart and the 5,000 tick chart, even though it's not testing against the cloud in the 1-hour chart. I have to admit that when it comes to the 5,000 tick chart, I don't completely understand how all the math works with the charting and the Ichimoku indicator. However, when I have taken a look at it, I seem to have found a pattern where the cloud is a reliable indicator for testing price as support or resistance. So that is why I use the 5,000 tick chart. On that note, this is not the typical traditional strategy for using the Ichimoku indicator. This is simply a strategy that I've developed after spending time in the charts and seeming to find a pattern with how price reacts to the Ichimoku cloud. I'm sure I'm not the only one who does this. I'm sure if you speak to experts on the Ichimoku, they might be able to tell you that this is something that is quite common. However, for me, nobody has told me to do things this way. This is just something that I've found on my own. Now I'm starting to feel a lot better about this trade. Price has been moving more and more in the direction that I was hoping for. And at this point, I'm really just waiting to hear those two beautiful words behind those ones and zeros in the TopstepX platform.
Order filled.
So that is it for this trade. We've traded 4 contracts in NASDAQ and ended with $998.80. And honestly, this is good enough for me, so I lock myself out of this account and call it a day for trading. Apologies if this title is misleading. Not quite $1,000, but pretty close. Again, $998.80. All within a time span of under 20 minutes. Looks like around 17 minutes. Here we're looking at the statistics for this combine, and we have a 100% win rate. We have a total profit of around $3,434 across 2 days. Every trade I have made in this combine, I am posting to this channel. I'm really hoping that we can get this combine passed as soon as possible, and I'm really looking forward to day 3 and hoping we can keep this win streak alive. One more thing I'd like to show you is what's going on in the market today after that trade was closed. Here we are taking a look at the NASDAQ at the New York Open. It is plain to see that price had tested the cloud when I had entered, and the bullish run that has gone on since the trade has closed has been massive. It's been nearly 100 points, and for 4 contracts, that would be a lot of money. Had I been patient and stayed in that trade, I could have easily made that 4,500 limit for this combine. So maybe that's something to think about, that maybe I do need to be patient and stay in these trades a little bit longer. We are going to move to gold. And again, we see some more beautiful setups where price tested at the lower band of the cloud and really just took off. Especially this most recent one looks like a beautiful trade opportunity. I typically do like to set profit targets at the highest point of the ascending cloud, which would have hit in both the NASDAQ and gold. If you've made it this far, I can't thank you enough for watching. I really appreciate it. And a huge thank you to the few that have subscribed and are my first subscribers. I will always be grateful for those of you that were here before anybody else. So that's it for today, and thank you. If you have any questions, please leave a comment and I will do my best to respond as quickly as possible.